This is the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
Greetings to you,
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we hope the station for you is OTR. Welcome to the Old Tube Radio Network. 27085 is where we're at, transmitting and receiving the Old Tube style radios tonight from 1958 to 1978, the vintage Class D 11-meter radios. You know them well. And if not, stay tuned because you will find out more about them as they check in here. This is the Old Tube Radio Network, Central California, and oldtuberadio.net, and now on the YouTube video stream. Welcome, everyone, and we'll see what we can reel in. Let's throw out the line for catching those Old Tube radios tonight. Break OTR, go ahead. Okay, the audio faded out on me there. Try it again, over. Still a little weak, but go ahead. Okay, it starts out good. It gets a little weak. I don't know if you've got an amplified microphone with the battery, but give me the radio again, and don't be afraid to speak up just a little bit because the audio is quite low. All right, the Courier 23. I've got you. Yeah, the audio is about 25% at best, but it's got a great signal. Got a great signal, and not a problem there. I'm going to log you in at 840. Let me see if I can pull one of those up on the database. I don't know if they have a... some of them have range boost or range expands. If you've got... I'll just ask if you've got the standard microphone that comes with it, or if you're running something that has a battery in it. Over. Okay. Audio is just is a bit low. Looks like it doesn't have the range boost. We got a picture, a great shot of it, and that is a. If it's like the one we're looking at, nice black and chrome. Looks like you got all 23 channels and an S meter. So you're set. Over. All right, and if you gave me your name, I missed it. I'm listening this time. Over. Oh, all right. Okay, Bill. Yeah, we have to work on the audio on that. I'm assuming that if everything is wired correctly on the microphonium, then it's possible that it might need an internal adjustment to increase the audio gain. If not, it sounds like everything's wired okay. I don't hear any crackling, and it's keying the radio each time. The other thing is, it might be worth perhaps looking into an amplified microphone for that. But other than that, looks like we're doing pretty good on the Courier 23. Over. Okay, yeah, keep it in mind. Harvey will be out there next week, too. Sometimes he has some good thoughts on what to do on the audio. Might just need some tubes reset, but the signal is good. You're 10 over 9, so you're full quieting, basically. Audio is about 25%, but I don't hear any crackling or buzzing or anything like that. It's just low, so it could be just a bad seated connection somewhere, or else the radio just needs some internal... what are we saying? An internal kick in the pants to get the thing going. Our first radio of the evening, the Courier 23, a very nice and classic radio. The original price on those was close to $200 back in the day. More information on them from CB8. Okay, and don't go away, Bill. Harvey is around, so he might be able to comment a little bit later on in the evening if you are around. Give us another transmission on the Courier 23, and I suspect in future episodes we will have that thing ripping and roaring on the audio. I think it just has, Harvey was asking if it has a range boost. If you look on the front bill, is it a noise limiter? There's two switches. There's one under the meter. It doesn't say range boost, does it, or does it say noise limiter?
Range boost.
45.
Yeah, I'm thinking he might need to flip that noise, that switch back and forth a little bit to loosen up the noise range boost, rather. And 35, go ahead.
I believe that was 45.
Oh, 45. All right. See, I'm listening. I'm listening so hard, I went right past it. All right. So we've got a Bill checked in. Let me make sure I got him as Radio 1 on the Courier 23. But I think we just want to make sure that we check all the options on that one. And let's go over to Radio 2. That should be 45. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, there. Well, I'll tell you what, the noise is just about got me up here. I'll try to get this thing in, and if it doesn't get better, I'm going to have to quit checking them in tonight. But anyway, I'd like to check in my general radio telephone, Master Control MC-2.
All right, we will. We can do that, and I'm having the same issue with noise tonight, but it's sort of a static. I've got the noise blanker in just a little bit. I try not to run too much noise blanker because it can affect the audio of the incoming stations, and I don't want to distort anyone's audio when it shouldn't be that way. But we're adding just a little bit of noise blanker tonight to get rid of the static items. And Paul is on the radio telephone Master Control number 2, the MC2. I'm seeing if we have... We don't get that one too often. I'm just seeing if we have a shot of that. I think we do. Let me pop it up here at oldtuberadio.net. Yeah, in fact, it looks like it might be one of yours. You give us a transmission.
Okay, I haven't seen it come up yet, but oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the 2. I also got the 1 now, however, the 1 is not functioning. Maybe someday, I hope. Maybe never. Anyway, that's number 1, serial number 20, I got from the late Bob Millam's great collection. And the Super Guy. He had some beautiful radios there. Besides the generals, he had Brownings and everything. Beautiful collection. Anyway, back to this one. This is the second one that they manufactured and sold, the MC2, in 1959. I'll let you fill in some other stuff there, Danny.
All right. Well, I don't want to take too much of the fire away because that is, even if you have receive issues because of the static, the transmit is doing quite well on that. The Master Control series was 1958. Late 1958 is when the Class D service started. So a lot of companies jumped in right at the beginning with their biggest and best, and this would be the one from General Radio Telephone. 7 tubes. Same circuit as the MC3, but a different face. The nice, very nice Electro Voice high efficiency ceramic microphone, which you may or may not be using. You'll let us know about that. And most of the early radios did not come with 23 channels on the transmit because the crystals were a bit expensive, but a lot of them had the tunable VFOs built in, which was okay. You had to be crystal control on the transmit. But that saved some money on buying the crystals. Back to you, sir, for another transmission. Over.
Okay, it's VFO on receive, and this has really been, it's been warming up to half an hour, still drifting. So, back to said, they drift a little bit. You got to bear with them. Anyway, it's got a lot of goodies on the thing. It's got a zero control on the switch, as for the control for the meter. And like I said, tunable VFO, has the same circuit as the MC3, which hopefully if the noise leaves me alone, I'll check it in next. That's about it. It's what manufactured in 1959, like I said. Oh, I'm using a Turner M+2U microphone on the thing. It doesn't like the stock electro voice microphone, so I'm going to keep with this one. Anyway, that's about it, Dennis.
Okay, I was wondering because it has a loud audio, and I know the later master controls, the Super MC series, pretty much fixed needing an amplified microphone. The audio out of those was quite large, as the saying goes. But on the earlier ones, I think your selection of the amplified microphone is doing well because you've got great audio here, and your signal is at this time only about an S unit above the noise, but. The audio coming in good. There is a black, it looks like a little hole or a space on the left-hand side of the radio. I don't know if you can copy my question, but I'm going to say that is probably for perhaps a transmit crystal position or something, and I'm wondering if it is, if you've got a crystal sticking in it.
That's exactly right. It's real recessed in there, so the crystal doesn't stick out really far when it's stuck in there. Interesting. The front on this thing has the same, almost as the one, but with that socket down there, they had turned on the one. They had it placed the other way. That was running horizontal rather than vertical. And then they had different controls on it. If I ever get the thing running, which I doubt if I ever will, I'll tell you about what it should have operated on the MC1 or the MC-1. Yes.
All right, and one other question, because I've never operated one of these, and it took a little bit of skill. You just couldn't. Some of these you just couldn't jump into when you had the transmitter and receiver with not crystal controlled on the receiver. So, is there a spot switch? I see something that says 0, but I don't know what that means. I'm just wondering, did you have to be pretty good and hope your dial when you set it to 11 or near 11 that you were there, and or is there a way to spot the thing on your transmit crystal and know where the receiver is? Over.
Now, the side switch is not what the other ones had on it. This has a spot switch on the thing, but they made that noise, and ones after 3 started up with a tone signal on the thing. They put that in the same hole as that. So they changed the front a little bit, but basically it's about the same.
Okay, and the start of beautiful downtown Burbank. It was General Radio Telephone in Southern California, working on the 11-meter radios, and the master control was, in theory, I guess, their base radio, and the VS, or vibration service, was their more smaller, compact mobile radios. We check in a lot of General Radio telephones here on this frequency, in part due to Paul up there, who has a great collection, but there are some others around. Radio number 2 on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight from General Radio Telephone, 1959, the year of manufacture. It's called the Master Control, or the MC2. Back to you, Paul, for another transmission. Thanks for bringing it by.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for checking it in, but I'm hoping to hear some more radios that perhaps they picked up from Bill at Red Monkeys out there tonight. It'd be nice to hear some new ones on it. So we'll be listening. Thank you, Dennis.
All right, we started out with one, the Courier 23. We got to work on the audio a little bit. They didn't sell as many as we thought, but the good thing is they are still available for someone to either add, or what I think is just a great way to start your collection. Sometimes eBay can be just nerve-wracking trying to bid on something, and you really don't know that it works, and then you don't know if it's going to be shipped properly. Bill's got them all on display. They all work. And if there's some issues, we've got people here locally that will be able to get the things up and running even better than that. So keep that in mind here. And Bill and the gang will be out at Red Monkey Communications, out of the shop. He said Monday through Friday. The radios are still going to be out on display, and there's still plenty from which to choose. So, that space above the solid state radio that you've been wanting to put a tube radio, you'll be able to do that. Paul, I don't know if you have any room left. You're going to have to find some, because I think one of them had your name on it there. We'll be wanting to hear that. Thanks for bringing by the General Radio Telephone tonight.
Number 7.
50 yards.
And this is the Old Tube Radio Network. We've got SWL7, and that'll be our next tube check-in. Is that, do we have an SWL check-in?
Yeah, 53 then is checking in. Just got back from the party there. 10-4.
All right, you know, it's your party, and you can cry if you want to, but I'm glad you're checking in between the tears. There's a little bit old music reference for your old tube radio check-in pleasure. Bob, I'm just trying to find page 2 to get you checked in. Mr. Belair is in, over.
Yeah, 10-4. I had just too many parties there, and I always come in kind of late here, but yeah, appreciate the check-in there. Have a good one there, Dennis.
All right, and it's not even December yet. That's when we have people coming and going from parties. We get a lot of mobile check-ins that way as well. Thanks for remembering the Saturday night place to be here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Let me bring the tube list out, and Radio 3 is beaconing. Hello, Mr. Ed.
And hello, Dennis, and all the SWLs out there. The Tram, TR27E, 23-channel transmit and receive.
All right, the big Tram. I had the pleasure of seeing one of these up close and personal today over at Red Monkey Communications, and I believe, I'll guarantee it was for sale, and I believe it might still be available. So if anybody is, I'll put the picture up. If anybody is thinking that they want a tram, and the one that's got the biggest S-meter this side of the Mississippi, I think on either side of the Mississippi, this would be it. Give us a transmission.
There you go. You want something that's not small. 5x7 speaker. You can see there the speaker grill. The S-meter, which you spoke of, is 3.5 inches wide and 3 inches tall. Excuse me. And yeah, it definitely is a large-size radio. Oh, I have the Electro Voice 638 large type band microphone for it also.
Using an Electro Voice microphone, the Electro Voices were of various models, were popular with the tube radios. They had a good impedance match. Electro Voice for PA systems, and the radios did some nice EQing to make it sound good. And so I'm gonna see if I can't get a picture of an EV microphone before you go, because that's part of the classic look that goes along with the classic sound of the radio. Over.
There you go. Tried a bunch of different microphones on it. The D104, Turners, and a couple other Electro Voices. But this one, it seemed to like the best, so it stayed on the radio.
All right, yeah, the classic Electro Voice, kind of mid-50s, early 60s chrome microphone, a real workhorse, and sounding good on your Tram TR27E tonight on the Old Tube Radio Network. And like I said, there may be actually one available right here in town if you've got some space on the radio table and are looking for a Tram.
Well, if they do, I think they'll be very happy with it. This one's definitely been an excellent radio.
And it glows in the dark and does a good job doing it. The Tram TR27E from 1963, by the way. I think this was their top-of-the-line series, because it did have 23 channels, and then the tunable transmit. Looks like it's got the spot switch. And good stuff. All right, thanks for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Boy, and I really do have some static tonight. I haven't checked over on the video side, so let me see if anybody's out there talking to us and waving a hand tonight. Ramon is in. He's watching from Delaware. I thought I saw the Delaware moniker on the big board. And, of course, Rich, as always, waving a hand to our SWLs and Old Tube Radio operators watching the video tonight. This is the Old Tube Radio Network, and we were looking for radio number 4.
Dennis?
This is the basic Dennis, over.
Have you mentioned about, or did Bill mention about the Facebook post?
Oh, if he did, I missed it. So is there a there was something earlier. It had some pictures and the address. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's on Facebook under Friends of Browning, Tram, and Sonar Radios. Bill took pictures of the tables of radios. 5 tables, 2 racks of radios, plus a table of microphones. So it's on Facebook somewhere under, I think it's Friends of Browning, Tram, and Sonar Radios, because I noticed it on my phone. So you can look at it that way, on the computer or on the phone. Anyway, tons of radios all down there, and Bill's keeping the tables up at least Monday, maybe through the week if people want to come down and look. And just ask Bill. I mean, you'll see some prices on radios, but just ask Bill, what would you take for that one? And see what's going on. All kinds of radios. 5 tables worth plus 2 racks. And anyway, I would say about 60 or 70 or more radios.
Okay, and I forgot there was a whole whole table full of microphones, all really, really nice, classic, and it looks like some customized ones. Or the other thing, I guess, is if you have your favorite, bring your favorite microphone down and see if you can find a connector. Or a radio that'll match the connector, and then you know there's your radio. They have to make sure it's wired correctly, but that might be a way to do it too. So yeah, they're still available, and like I was saying earlier, this is the way to go. If you've pretty much had it up to here with trying to get something on eBay, this will be a guaranteed way to go. And as Phil says, shipping is free when you pick it up.
Yeah, Roger. All the radios down there, almost all of them, that have the 4-pin Cobra type male plug on them are wired for Cobra. So if you happen to have a mic that's wired that way, that you might like to run on a radio, I mean, he's got mics down there that he can test the radios with, because I think only some of the radios come with mics. But you bring your mic down, test it. I have 3 down there, 2 Robin T123Bs and a Browning R27S23. The 2 Robins are 4-pin Cobra type plug, but they are still wired Robin-like, so Cobra mic won't work on it. But I have a Robin mic to test them with. And the Browning is a typical 2-pin Browning, and I have a mic down there for testing. So, anyway, mine are negotiable price-wise, and, I can't speak for Bill, but just ask him. Anyway, I got to go in and get some dinner, then I'll be back. I just got home. They keep starting this day earlier and earlier, and I'm actually able to make it for OTR. Okay, catch you later, Dennis. Thank you.
All right, thanks for the update, Harvey, and we will get you checked in when you come back around. All right, thanks. And I'm trying to see if the jingle singers are around. We'll get them at the top of the hour here, but we're looking for radios on SWLs.
77?
Number 7.
All right, we've got the 7s. We've got 77 and number 7. Ed, take a seat up in the green room. We will be right with you. And let's go radio 4. And Mr. Dennis is at the microphone there. If I can figure out where my extra audio is coming from somewhere. Anyway, go ahead, Dennis.
Alrighty. Hello to everyone. The old Cobra Cam 88 that Harvey worked his magic on and got her all dialed in. And the Electro Voice 664 running through a little Behringer preamp. And, well, there you go.
All right, a real simple setup, but works really well. And anyone who is, well, if you're listening here at 27085, you know how good the audio sounds. And if you're listening over the net, you know how really good it sounds, especially if you're running headphones. The way we do the audio here, let me get a shot of the Cobra Cam 88 so people will know the radio that's attached to the audio. But we run the audio a direct input, or maybe you could call it a direct inject, but anyway, out of the receiver, the analog audio out of the receiver, and that goes into the sound card, so there's no external noise added to it, and then straight out. So what you hear is exactly what we're doing here. And then Dennis has added the classic microphone and a little preamp, and you can see how easy it is. I don't think he had to go in and, you know how on your transistorized radio, you got to go in and cut something and remove this and take something that not with these radios. Back to you.
Nope. When I got this back from Harvey, plugged it in, hooked the microphone up, and they were a match made in heaven, and I've been running it ever since this way.
Yeah, easy does it. Don't need to overscream anything. It's got a nice broadcast quality sound to it, and I see there's a modulation light there, so I'm assuming that twinkles at you a little bit when you're talking.
Yeah, a little wiggly and a little twinkly, and well, you know you're getting out there and making some noise.
B&K Dynascan, I do believe that there was, I know there was a 98, and I think there was an 88, and some of the clones, I'll say clones, that were the similar insides but made by Allied Radio and the like, out at Bill's shop, and they may be still sitting on the display shelf waiting for you to pick them up and start your collection. And you can hear how easy it is with a nice microphone and little preamp to match your audio levels to get the radio sounding good. Radio number 4, the Cobra Cam 88, doing a good job. Always enjoy hearing it. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by.
Alrighty, and I'm glad to hear that more radios, more tube radios will be out here warming up their rooms and waving a hand at everybody. We sure appreciate it, Dennis. All the best, and the old Cam 88 will be sitting here sandbagging.
All right, good deal. The old Tube Radio Network. Let me check in the top of the hour. We've got Mr. Ed standing by, but I want to let people know if you've tuning in or watching or wherever you might be. This is the old Tube Radio Network. We are here in Central California on the Channel 11. That's frequency 27085, and for the last 30-something years, we have been hanging out on Saturday nights from starting at 8 o'clock to whenever. Just kind of inviting stations to come by and have a chat on their old tube radio. You've seen it at the hamburger stand when the people bring out the classic cars with the fins and chrome to get them out of the garage once a week. Well, this is a way to get your tube radio out of the garage once a week and fire it up here. And we have some audio streams going at oldtuberadio.net and the video stream as well, so that other people can enjoy what goes on here, and hopefully encourage you to do the same in your location. Have a radio night, whether it's an old radio night or something, just to get people on the air. And the jingle singers, our very own jingle singers, get excited when they hear these radios.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And speaking of an OTR station, hello, Mr. Ed.
And hello, Dennis. Looks like this thing is doing what it's supposed to as far as putting something out. Needle's working the right way. Robin, T123, no B, because this one's got the winking and blinking eye, which is definitely winking and blinking.
Okay, I knew that was the T123 when you keyed up. It has this sound. It's kind of a growling. I don't even know how to describe it. Kevin's Buddy Bass used to make sort of a similar growl, and it just sounds mean. And then your audio comes in, and it's super loud, and you know that there's an old tube radio on the loose. Well, we've got a shot of the T123, the first in kind of the Robin triple play, the T123, the 123B, and the 240D. But if you like the Magic iTubes, this is the one to get. Back to you.
Yes, that is a picture of the same type radio. Looks just like that. I wish I had that microphone, though, which is the Robin on that picture. Mine is a D104, but that's the way I got the radio.
Yeah, that is, I believe he calls it the MT, like Mike Tango number 1, which is the, I guess, official microphone match, Robin microphone for that. 11 tubes, 2 transistors thrown in for good measure. For your AM pleasure, this radio has the capability of running mobile if you've got the proper DC volt, 12-volt DC power cable to go with it. And more information in Sam's PhotoFax 35, page 95. But I guess all you really need to know is here on the Old Tube Radio Network when the thing keys down and sounds like this.
There you go, the sound of tube radios and the smell of baking dust on the tubes. Nothing quite like it.
Yeah, there's something as an operator, or maybe as we should say, as a driver on the radios that you get not only the fun of transmitting and receiving, but you get the, the oral? No, the aroma anyway. And it's a good thing. They're also great during, Christmas time when you can have the lights twinkling out of the vents on the sides of the top, assuming it has something like that, and you get a nice little shadow in the room. For those who want you to make that magic eye wink and blink again, give us another transmission, and thanks for Radio 5.
There you go. And yes, the odoriferous emanations coming off the valves inside there that are twinkling away. Definitely a nice little grid of light across the back of the wall.
Frank OTR.
All right, doing a good job. Thanks for that one. I want to wave a hand to our listeners. Butterbean, of course, from Northeast Georgia, telling all the tube radio operators and shortwave listeners to have a great evening. And DD21 also out there listening tonight, as many of you are at oldtuberadio.net, and a whole bunch of you are here locally at 27085. And maybe you're watching years from now on the YouTube video or listening to the audio archives, and we are having some fun here on the 7th day of October 2017. We have another station standing by. I believe it is Mr. Chris. Over.
That it is. It is I, once again. Dennis, I would like to check in this huge radio here. It's got so many channels in it, it's unbelievable. Man, it's got like 8 of them in here. It makes you wonder which one to go to, but I know which one I'm on. This one right here. This is one I'm mainly on all the time. Anyway, I want to check in my Citizens little phone, the helicopter's model, CB3A, 8-channel transceiver with the handheld original carbon type microphone.
All right, Helicrafters made quite a few radios. The little phone was sort of in the middle of all of them, the various models. This is one of the early ones, the CB3 Alpha. I'm trying to think. I don't think I saw any Helicrafters there today. Or maybe if they were there, they were already snatched up. But there was Hammerland there, but I think it was sold. So glad we got some H radios on board tonight. One of my favorite manufacturers, of course, my first walkie-talkies, my first shortwave radio receiver was from Helicrafters. They do a good job, but give us another transmission on the CB3A.
Hey, well, this is it. Ain't got a whole lot to it, but, I really get surprised with what comes out of this little thing with only 7 tubes. So, anyway, hey. And with this carbon microphone, so you got to slap it around once in a while. But Dennis, I'll go ahead and get out of here, and I'll try to get back here real quick with another.
All right, like in the old style rotary phones, the carbon microphone also worked well in a lot of the early CB radios. 1963, price point on this one was about $160. there were ways to put optional equipment. Yeah, just like your old car. Radio heater, white wall tires are extra. This one had 2 spots. They're the rectangular panels on either side of the channel selector where it says A. The one we're showing actually has the S meter. I think that's an S meter that you could buy later on and add. And I think the other panel you could put in a receive VFO. Similar to the RCA Mark 7. So I'm not sure if the Mark 7 took the Hallicrafters chassis or the Hallicrafters took the Mark 7 chassis. It will go 12-volt DC with the proper cable and all that in just 7 tubes. If you're interested in more about it, there is a schematic at oldtuberadio.com. Thanks for bringing it by, Chris.
You bet, and break OTR.
And boy, the fastest coax switch in the West is back out there. The break OTR, go ahead.
I do thank you very much there, Dennis. This is me, once again, SWL37, and I see everything blinking and moving, so it must be working. This time here, I am checking in on my, gotta get my glasses here, yeah, my, Courier Royale, God, I was brain dead there for a minute, I hate that. 23 count tubes, a tube that glows in the dark. I can't even talk straight, my God. This is with all the knobs and the blinking lights and the hidden knobs, but this here, I'm running this here with the amplified D-Wall 4 lollipop.
All right, that's what happens when you have too many radios. It's like having a lot of kids and you're trying to remember the names and you call them the wrong name. You know how they get upset. So hopefully the radio has forgiven you. Radio 7 is the Courier Royale tonight. We got a picture up. Top of the line for Courier. That was just about every option you could get, I think. And then on the front panel, lots of knobs and dials to help you get dialed in. 23 channels, no waiting, as they say, and some pretty nice audio to boot. Over.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it seems to be working properly tonight.
Yeah, it's good on the transmit. You'll have to tell me about the receive. Now, as compared to the 7 tubes we had earlier from the Hallicrafters, this has 11 tubes, and it's just AM. Some of the sideband radios had to have more tubes for the product detectors and things, but this has 11 tubes. There is a service manual, by the way, over at oldtuberadio.com, and I'm checking. This one will also go 12 volts DC with the proper cable. This also, one of the notes on this one was they used a Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter in the receiver to help with your adjacent channel rejection and making things sound good. So if you peek down in the top of the case there, it's probably a long, or kind of a cylindrical, it looked like a tube, kind of, but it'll be skinny and metallic. But it's in there doing its job. Over.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, you said you didn't know how it was coming on the receive. Well, here's the report on that there, excuse me. A good 10, how is it, Kevin always said, good modulation, 9 pounds chestnut and Herndon, something like that, wasn't it? Yeah,
the OBP official radio check during the net was 9 pounds, good modulation, chestnut and Herndon, and the reason behind that was, well, at the time he was at Chestnut and Herndon. That's where he lived, but he ended up moving. So, you know, why mess with success if that QTH works good? And then the 9 pounds was he had I think it was a 23S9 R2700 combination. And on the receiver, the S meter on the R2700 or the 2700A, whatever it was stuck at S9. So no matter where you were, or what you did, you were always S9 on that radio.
Oh, I remember it quite well. My brain wasn't adding up there, but yes. Yeah, he did that there way back then. Way before even OTR.
Yeah, back when we had our tube radios, but didn't realize that... see, that was so far ago, they were kind of new. We didn't know there was a dying breed, and they weren't making them anymore. So we decided we better keep these things on the air. Sounding good. Speaking about keeping on the air, I'm going to see if the Jingle Singers are ready, if they can see me over in the other studio, and we will promote the friendly place to be on a Saturday night.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. The friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Number 7.
Okay, I think we had a couple in there checking in. We've got number 7. Ed, you will be next. Who else?
7-0, late check-in, please, Dennis.
All right, and a late, we'll do a quickie check-in for Mark. Let me grab up the SWL sheet and make it official throughout the universe. All right, thanks for tuning in, Mark. Hope you're having a great weekend.
Now I am.
See how simple it is? All you need is that OTR check-in, whether it's a shortwave listener or a tube radio. Thanks, Mark. All right, and we're going to get our tube radio as well. Let's head over to Mr. Ed on radio number 8.
This time, E.F. Johnson, bringing the Messenger 223.
All right, so the big one from E.F. Johnson, the last of their tube radio series. I don't remember if the 250 was tubes or not, but obviously the 223 was, and I always forget, but I will always ask you so we can put the right photo up there. Some of the models had a modulation light, a red modulation light, some did not, and yours is which one?
Mine is just like the one you have there in the picture. It does not have a modulation light, although this one does. I noticed on the dial on that one is not heavy marked. It looks, okay, it's on a different channel. I don't see it anyway. Yeah, this one has a little red spot on the 9 to let you know it's the emergency channel, or once was.
Okay, yeah, sort of like the, what was it, Conelrad, the civil defense radios that were marked at 640 and 1240. They let you know that you could get to REACT, R-E-A-C-T, and I used to know what that meant. I think that's an acronym for something, but I remember the day. There's a lot of REACTs. It was really good, especially I live down in Southern California, so there's a KOX 1095 West Coast REACT, and that guy was busy. That guy was busy in reporting accidents on the freeways and people, just, I don't know how he did it. And I mean, he didn't get paid for that, but I remember the West Coast REACT. Where there was a messenger. No, there wasn't a messenger. It was the Viking, the Viking Messenger 1 out there. And I think that was still, I don't think anybody picked that up. That was a nice looking E.F. Johnson. So if anybody was an E.F. Johnson fan, you may still be able to pick one up here locally over at Red Monkeys. This was their deluxe, the 223, which is basically the Messenger 2, which was, 10 channels, 8 channels or 10 channels, and they added the 23 channels in the S meter, and you get the 223, and it sounds like this.
Oh, and just like this right here. This one has a Silver Eagle D104 on it. Did not get the original mic with it. Hey, but for $35, what the heck?
Gee, that's not bad at all. These did come out of the box or in the box or something. You could buy them with the desk mic. Are we showing it on this shot? It's off to the side, but it was I'm going to say a Turner style desk mic, and I think if you added another like $15, make it like $215, you would get the microphonium with it. They did a good run on this radio, 1969 to 1972. Sears Roebuck even took the chassis and made their little Sears Roebuck radio. If anybody has an old 1969 or 1970 Sears catalog, flip through it either manually or virtually, and look, and you will find a very similar radio like this, but it'll have the SR atomic logo on it. Radio Emergency Association. CT. I missed the CT because I was talking at the same time, but Radio Emergency Action. So that was your REACT channels. Anyway, where was that going? Oh, we were talking about the Sears radio, which is the same as the 223. Let me stop talking. Let's hear more from your radio before you go.
Hey, get that in real quick. It's Radio Emergency Associated Communication Team. Radio
Emergency Associated Communication Team, REACT. All right. And there are people jumping up and down saying, we knew that. And some of you out there may have actually participated in the react. Are they still around? I don't know. I don't hear much on Channel 9, but we've got a good network with the truckers that report on things. So your CB radio is still not too bad for checking things out and reporting on items of interest. Sometimes I think it's even better than trying to get stuff on some amateur radio repeaters, which can be quite silent at some times too. Anyway, Mr. Ed, back to you.
There we go, and one more transmission out of this one before I grab one more radio.
37 on the side.
All right, and sounding good. Radio 8 on the old Tube Radio Network from E.F. Johnson, the Viking, not the Viking, but I guess you'd call it the Viking Messenger 223. Coming up next, we've got SWL 37. Hello, Chris.
Was there someone before me or what?
I think we're good. We were just taking comments. So radio-wise, you are good for radio number 9. Over.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, this is SWL 37 once again on the airways. We are checking in this pretty blue radio, the G PowerMate Gem Marine Products, the pretty blue one. About all I can say for it, and we're running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. Over.
And it's got good audio. I wanted to see if we can get a shot because I believe that the radio that we're going to put up on the video here is the one on which you are talking. That is the radio in your shack. And I think there was one... Oh, did I see one of those today? I think there's one of those for sale today. I think it was still there. There are a lot of radios on this style that he's got. So if you like the audio on this is the... I think this is the import chassis, the Panasonic chassis. There were quite a few there similar style to this that have the great audio, and I believe there was actually one that looked like this. Back to you.
Yeah, well, somebody ought to snatch that puppy up, because they're good. It's a nice radio. I have no problems with this. I like this. It's a good look. Was it the blue like this?
I believe it was.
Well, there you go.
And works on all 23 channels. Let's see, that's an S-meter switch and a PACB, so it doesn't have the range boost or range expand, but you don't need it. Did you say you're running an amplified microphone?
Yes, I am.
All right, that is a good match for that, because you are nice and loud with no problem. On the Gem Marine, or the G PowerMate from Gem Marine Products. Give us another transmission. Thanks for Radio 9.
You betcha. Well, I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to reach over and turn this other one up. It's got to warm up.
All right, and plenty of time here at the old Tube Radio Network for your check-ins, whether it be SWL style or Tube Radio style, as we try and get into double digits. And the Timtron, the mighty Timtron from the Pacific Northwest, waving a hand here. If I will remember to look at the comments, hoping for some skip. We actually had some conditions going on today, but the E-skip has been a little bit disappointing. I remember times when week after week we would have, was it Daffy Duck and the crew up there from Morgan and Washington. We'd have Colorado check-in. So maybe we're going to have to wait for a little bit more solar activity in cycle 25, but it will happen, and we will wait for that. I mean, we've been around here 33 years, 34 years, so we can wait for another cycle to come through. We are looking for radio number 10.
45.
And there is Mr. Paul. Hello, 45, over.
Yeah, I can, Dennis. Noise got a little bit better. It's kind of a pulsating noise now. Not like it was before, just solid. Anyway, I'd like to check in my general radio telephone MC3.
Okay, we've got earlier with the MC2, and I think I remember reading that the MC2 had some similarities to the 3, or maybe it's the other way around. But the MC3, I think, was a popular seller for them. A lot of the radios they were really good with the price points. They were good heavy-duty radios for mobile or base, and keeping the prices in the $150 range on a lot of these, I think helped. We're going to get a shot of it up, and we'll take a transmission from you. Over.
37.
And we've got you, Chris. We'll get you for Radio 11. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just waiting for 37 to talk there. So anyway, I'll get back to this. This is it's a 6 transmit overseas crystals in the thing. It's also got a VFO on it, which makes it real nice. It just drips as too. I think must have done some better things to it. Anyway, this is manufactured in 1960. And I'm talking on microphone. It's kind of unusual for it, but it's a generated telephone microphone. It's got the name on the front of it, on that little board down there inside. It's generated telephone. But this thing is crystal mic rather than a ceramic. I don't know if it sounds any better, but it's probably pretty close. Just back to you.
All right. Well, no, it sounds good for a crystal microphone. In fact, you fooled me. A lot of times the crystal microphones will have a bit of a restriction, a restricted low frequency, or some accentuations on the highs, and that one is pretty mellow. So I think your crystal in there is still. It's still good. You may be able to predict the future with that. The General Radio Telephone, only 7 tubes, kind of like the Helicopters. Didn't need a lot of tubes to do what they wanted to do. Audio output modulator, the EL84 from 1960, the MC3, the update to the MC2, and the distinctive rack handles on the General Radio Telephones kind of gave it a nice, I want to say, a commercial look or a professional look to it, and maybe they was just necessary because the thing was doggone heavy. You can always tell the earlier 1960, 1959 radios because they had the ability to go 115 volt AC, and some of them had the 12 volt DC, and a lot of them had the 6 volt DC. A lot of you might remember the 50s automobiles with the 6 volt system in it, and these radios would work well with that. Over to you this time, Paul. What I'll do a zero beat. I haven't done one in a while. So we'll see where your crystal is on that, your transmit, channel 11 transmit crystal, where it's hanging out on the General Radio Telephone. See how close you are to center frequency. Back to you.
Okay, this also has its own zero.
Yeah, it's working. I didn't think they had them that early. Let me check the video. Yeah, that's the switch. There it is, right there in the center. And I guess they call it tone signal. So you flip that up or flip it down, it would start. And yours is working good. The oscillation, the modulation, the oscillation is about right. Sometimes it'll be a little bit slower. Sometimes it'll be fast. Who was it? Eric used to have one that sounded like Martians marching through mud. It just didn't work quite well. And rest assured, Paul, I zero beated you. You are at like 270850. That is right on frequency. Over.
Yeah, good. You know, it's interesting with this thing too on the tone signal. I can watch it on my watt meter down here, and it jumped up down pretty good. So I knew it was working when I was watching it there. Interesting things, you know. Thanks a million, Dennis. I enjoy it very much. Thank you for checking anything in.
All right, and just looking at the S meter, that radio is tweaked and peaked perfectly because you've got some good forward movement on the meter, so it's not over. You're not over tweaked on the carrier. The audio is nice and loud, and typically I have found even if you have a bad microphone or you're only modulating 20%, the tone signal circuitry is somewhere, in your modulation circuit that it's always 100%. So if you want to see you know, if you're on a PEP watt meter or something and you want to see what the radio will do, your tone signal will pretty much modulate that thing to 100%, and yours does the same thing. Quite a swing on the meter when it's working. We are talking to Paul in North Fork. For those listening that may not know, he's about 45 miles away from me up in the hills, so he's not just right down the street, and doing a pretty good job with all of his radios. So you can kind of get an idea of the distance that we're talking to some of our stations here. And he's Radio 10 with the General Radio Telephone MC3, Master Control 3, and there is a schematic for that radio over at oldtuberadio.com. Here on the Old Tube Radio Network, we've got Radio 11 standing by. Hello, Chris. Back to you, or over to you.
Hello, Dennis from Paul. That general sounds good on my general, so just to let you know. But anyway, Dennis, this SWL37 here, we're going to check in our general radio telephone, the Super MC11A. This is the 24-channel version of all of it there for sure. And we are running this in here with a handheld, I guess it could be the original stock microphone. It's not very big, but it is a stock microphone, no amplifications, nothing kicking out the back. Just what you hear is what's coming out of the radio. Over.
Quickie, Dennis.
Yeah, all right, and it's sounding good, Chris. Go ahead, Harvey, over.
Yeah, can you see if Chris 37 is still out there?
I just left on the cloud.
Yeah, he's still out there, over.
Yeah, Chris, you still got my phone number?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, give me a phone call now if you can.
All right, when I get through with this radio.
Okay, I'm going to go back inside, Dennis. Thank you, bye.
All right. Boy, that's service. We're better than React sometimes around here for getting relays. General radio telephone. It's kind of a general radio telephone looking good here tonight. The MC3. Paul has given us the infancy of 1959, 1960. They're working on the radios. You can take, if you're looking at the video, you still see the rack handles are present in the Super MC11A. This is near the end of the MC of the Master Control series. But what they've done inside is the story here. Paul was running some amplified microphones and sounding nice and loud, and they figured out how to work these radios so that you didn't need the amplified microphone and the radio could do it by itself with the supplied stock microphone. Part of that, I think, has to do with the modulator output to the ECLL 800, which I guess back then wasn't too expensive, but right now is a little bit hard to find. So take care of that tube, over.
I don't run it all the time, so I take good care of it. I use it once a week.
All right, and once a week is good. That's why we're here on the Old Tube Radio Network, to get these out of the radio garage and on the air and share them with our listeners. And it's kind of fun to be an SWL and hear this is what it sounded like 30, 40, 50 years ago, before anybody was playing with their iPhones and you'd be watching, I don't know, the Beverly Hillbillies and Andy Griffith, and you'd turn off the TV and you'd go into the other part of the room and turn on the radio and chat with your friends, just like we're doing tonight. General Radio Telephone, Super MC11A, give us another transmission and then go make a phone call.
Okay, now, just curious, can you zero beat me? And don't beat me, but let me know where I'm at on frequency here. I hope I'm pretty darn close. You hear me anyway, over.
All right, yeah, that doesn't sound good. To the uninitiated, oops, let me keep the transmitter going here as I move to the receiver. Zero beating, what I'm doing, on an AM signal, you have your AM carrier, and then you have your upper and lower side bands. And what I am doing is I'm taking my receiver and tuning in one of the side bands, and my receiver is such that it will interpolate where the lower side band is or where the upper side band is on frequency. Sometimes you have to move, the 2 kcs down. But anyway, my frequency display will calibrate or adjust automatically to the frequency that the crystal is transmitting. So we will see when I stop talking and Chris makes a transmission, we'll do the 0 beat. You will hear the tone come in as I engage the beat frequency oscillator, and then I will minimize that tone, and we will have our results. Over to you.
Okay. I'm on there pretty darn close. I hope it's as close, especially as Paul's. That one sounded real good. So hopefully you're close to it, or if not, somewhere's in the park.
Yeah, it's got some good sideband modulation to it as well. All right, 87. Let's start this again. 27.08475. So that is 250 cycles low. So what does that mean? Well, that means you are within tolerance. The FCC allowed a 700 cycle window. Now, I'm not sure if that's from the center, meaning you had 350 on either side, or you had I think you had 700 low and 700 high. And on a radio that is all of 40-something years old, a crystal that really hasn't drifted all that much and is basically on frequency, that's doing a good job. Over.
Okay, well, I better give Paul Harvey a call. I don't want him to get impatient over there. So, all right, Dennis, I thank you. This was my last radio for tonight, and I'm going to give him a call now.
All right, sounds good. The old Tube Radio Network, the Jingle Singers letting us know that this is the Saturday night place to be.
You're listening in the latest style.
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
And, 93. SWL 93 has made it into the big board. We had you proxied, but there were rumors, Louis, that you are the sandbagger supreme, whether it's analog, digital, Facebook, wherever. And he proved true tonight. So, Louis, we've got you checked in. I will put it on the big board here so you can see the numbers pop up and know that indeed 93 is in OTR. We are looking for, where's my list? We're looking for Radio 12. And waving a hand to our shortwave listeners listening at oldtuberadio.net, still tuning in. Some of you not here on the West Coast are staying up late tonight. We are glad that you are. Hello to Hagerstown, Maryland, New York in the next day, listening in, I think, already here, coming up. What is it, 9? Yeah, you guys are into Sunday, I think. Florida is in. 31 and the gang out there in Tennessee still listening in. In Wisconsin, SWL, I forgot your number, shame on me. It's 113, I think. Yeah, Arlen. 113 out there in Wisconsin. Good to have you back. Brentwood, California. Oh, Brentwood is in. You know what? That is X4000. With a check-in for X4000. Virginia, still in there. Dallas, Georgia. Frisco, Texas. Kakalaki. 44 Utah, and mighty Timtron in Washington. So we'll see if we can't grab a few more radios before we back out of here tonight in the Old Tube Radio Network.
Well, I've been waiting every time I got ready to jump in there to get this in there. Somebody got me, but 42 here with a Mark III ready to check it in.
All right, Radio 12. You get to the other page here, and we will get you checked in. And you changed something, man. You are clipping that radio something awful. So check the Behringer box.
Yeah, I got to check the cables there. Is that any better?
Oh yeah. There you go. No, it just was lots of audio, and then some. Think audio is sort of like a glass. I mean, filling up a glass. You can fill it half full. You can fill it near the top. You can fill it right to the top, and you can fill it over the top. You're still going to drink of water. It's just going to be a little bit messy.
Oh yeah, these believe me, on this here, these dials are so easy to turn. They're like unbelievably smooth, and it don't take much for a cable to bump it. But we, just as you acknowledged Louis checking in on Facebook, he had called me, so I let him hear you on the radio. So he said, I didn't get no acknowledgement. I said, well, you got to give Dennis time, man. It takes time for him to run through everything and go back around. I said, so he's got you checked in over the air.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I haven't given him a written acknowledgement yet because I've got some keyboard typing to do, and that takes some other things. But good. So yeah, Louis has managed to get the corner of the market on sandbagging and just about analog and digital and everywhere else. If you are tuning in 27085, the oldtuberadio.net, or on the YouTube video, you are hearing the sound of a Browning Laboratories Golden Eagle Mark III. We've got a picture of a likeness of the Mark III. I think yours might be a little bit different, but it's got the sound and it's got the ping, and it's looking good on the radio table. Over.
Yeah, we have a Browning Mark III with a PR40 Heil with a Behringer MIC mic, 2 preamp. Something a little different than what everybody else runs, but always like to try to mix new with old and see what you get, and this is what you got.
All right, good. And we have some viewers and listeners from a hi-fi audio group. So so we'll go through. He's running the professional style PR40 microphone. So you should have an XLR cable. What type of cable are you running into the Behringer? And give us the model number again, so if anybody wants to look that up. It's a great economical way to interface your commercial style microphone into your radio. So, I mean, you can use a DI box, which is basically this is, but this has a few more controls. So give us the model number again on the Behringer.
Yeah, we're running the Heil PR40 with an XLR3 cable in, and then we've got an XLR3 cable out, which I have set up with a 4-pin Cobra-style plug with an adapter cable to the 2-pin for the Browning, and the 2 preamp is the Tube Ultra Gain MIC 200.
Okay, and that not only does it give you some control for the direct injection, you're going through the microphone input, but that gives you some gain control. So basically turning the PR40. I'm going to say in a preamplified microphone, but you're really not doing that. You're using the mic preamp to do that. And yours on the 200 actually does have some EQ to go with it, right?
Yeah, you've got the EQ, I guess you could call it, setting for different instruments, everything from a electric guitar to a bass guitar to percussion. It gives you, I guess you would have tone control, so it allows you to tailor your, as we're using it, for your voice to something that works good for you, or you can go to neutral and totally shut it all off and just run just your raw voice through that tube.
All right, I've got a picture of the mic, Ultragain Mic 200 up for anybody that wants to know. Okay, now coming out of that, you've got an output. So you've got the choice to use the XLR out or the phono jack out, and then you have to adapt that into the radio. So someone might be saying, well, how do you do the push to talk? How are you keying the radio? So did you have to make a special circuit to do that?
Well, yeah, for that, that's what you're going to have to do. But again, it's an XLR3 cable that has the, which it's mainly fashioned for ham radio. It's an actual XLR3 cable that's got a PTT socket, which is a female quarter-inch jack, and I'm just keying it up with a foot switch. But I had to make up my adapter cable to go from that 4-pin that I put on the end of this to a 2-pin for the Mark III. Usually this cable here came actually with a 8-pin for a Yaesu radio, and I took the 8-pin off, and I took the two audio, ground and hot, and I run those to the, on the Cobra would be the shield is 1 and the mic is 2, and then the push to talk, I just wired the quarter-inch female on it so I could put my foot switch on it to key the radio, and then my adapter cable from that to the radio is your 2-pin, and I key it up by hand. So that way, because you know the studio mic, the Heil doesn't have anything like that, so it's natural. I have to key it manually.
Yeah, and Heil might actually make some adapter cables that you know, you'd be able to switch in and out like that, but you'd have to like Jerry did. You'd have to adapt them for the 3-pin connector, and on the Browning, as many of you know, you have to be careful because the keying circuit carries some voltage. So you don't want to get things crossed, but it works out good. It gives you the ability to run any microphone, I suppose, you want. If you want to change things around and work with the sound, you know, work on the sound. This the little interface box from Behringer is a good way to go. Let's see, and of course that doesn't mess anything up. You can still just unplug it and put in the regular banana style mic. I guess the for those who like to make that ping sound, when you have a stationary microphone, you're always going to kind of get the same tone out of the ping, which could be a good thing too.
Oh yeah, you can get the ping. You just if the mic's on a boom like it is, you just got to kind of wave it around, but you'll get the ping. The other thing was, you know, the Behringer is really RF friendly. It doesn't really doesn't seem to have an issue with anything, considering it wasn't designed for an RF atmosphere like it's getting, but it's being used by me and it's being used by Dennis, and we both are having good luck with it. And like you heard earlier with Dennis on his 664, and it gels with that Cam 88 really well. So it's amazing what you can do when you you know, mix and match and experiment. And yeah, you do want to watch those that connection on that Mark III, because it will bite you. I found that out when I was putting my adapter cable together and wasn't paying attention to what I was grabbing onto, and it will bite you. I think Harvey said 90 volts.
I'm going to say probably 85 or 90 volts on the B plus there, so that's probably about right. Yeah, if there's going to be any RF, it may be the weak link might be in your power supply, the wall wart that comes with it, plugs into the wall. You've got the thin cable that goes in. I guess it changes. You said it changes the 120 AC to 9 volt AC, so it runs an AC to AC. So you know, a lot of times you can wrap that in a toroid and choke out any RF coming in through that little cable that could act as an antenna. We're talking to Radio 12, Jerry, on the Heil microphone in front of his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III, and sounding pretty good with the Tube Ultra Gain Mic 200. We got a shot of it there for any of the stations that are listening and wanting to work on the audio, and that will work for anything. Just have the right cables and you're good to go. Or maybe have an interface cable for different radios, or make a box, or however you want to do it. Give us another transmission on the Browning. It's doing a good job, and we like Radio 12.
And then I was reading like a week or so ago on some information on the Mark III, and I don't know, I'm sure there's a few out there that know this, that because the ping was the thing that was getting me. and I never really took a second thought on it until I got one, and then I started digging in, and I read an article that they were saying that the engineers, it was an oversight by the engineers on the ping, and they kind of just went with it, and it become what it is today. So they didn't really design the radio to do it. It's the radio was doing it, and it, like they said in the article, it was an oversight by the engineers, and now I'm glad they didn't do anything to correct it, because it's some little trick, unique sound from the radio that's made it so world famous.
That's true. That was the sound. I remember back when I was doing CB in the late 60s, you know, people would try to have another radio handy to make the squeal and make people think they had a Browning. They used to do the bobby pin on the D104 to make that little pring. I mean, this is before Roger beeps and things, and it just was kind of the sign that you had paid the top dollar for your radio. I think was probably some of it too. But we check in a lot of Brownings. The radios were built very well. And even the ones from the early 60s to the ones all the way up through 77 and 78, the Mark IVs are still going strong here on the old Tube Radio Network. And we are glad of that. There is still time if you're thinking about checking in the radio to get it warmed up before we sign out tonight. Jerry, thanks for the extra transmission there. But we do have a lot of people that work on the audio. The ESSB sound, the hi-fi sound is coming back into... it was big. It has been big in the amateur radio crowd, and a lot of people in 11 meters now are finding out how to do it on their transistor radios. The tube radios will give you, as Dennis proved, without a lot of fancy skullduggery, some great audio. And there's not these radios. A lot of these radios were built before the FCC mandated modulation limiters and things to keep you from being loud. So really, it's half the battle is already done on a tube radio. You just need to work on the microphone and a little bit of EQ, and you can sound pretty awesome. You sound pretty awesome even without it. Thanks for bringing by the radio tonight.
20.
All right, we will check in some more radios, get as many as we can tonight. We've got 20. There was, who else was out there? All right, we'll get you. Don't go away. Hello, Harvey. You are Lucky Radio 13.
Roger. Yeah, the Browning Golden Beagle. R68T68 by Browning Laboratories with the custom D104 microphone there. On that Courier 23 that had low audio, whose radio?
Let's see. That he picked that up today. That was Bill. I mean, the radio was keying okay. There was no crackling, there was no buzzing, and the tone quality sounded good. It was just low. And then we determined that there may be a range boost on that. So I'm thinking maybe the switch just needed to be moved back and forth or something.
Okay. Did he mention what microphone was with it?
You know, he might have. Let me see if I wrote it down. It was hard for me to copy. So if he said it, I probably didn't get it over.
Is that the one he picked up over at the shop?
That is correct.
Okay, there were two there. One didn't have a mic, one had a mic. One had the range expand or range boost. The other one had a noise limiter switch with it. One was the newer style blackface Courier with the recessed meter, and then one was the older one with the range expand and the meter that sticks out, the old style meter. Anyway, all of them were checked at the shop, so I'm just wondering if it's the range boost switch needs to be sprayed and worked back and forth a little bit. Anyway, okay, I was just wondering. And anyway, I got one more radio too, so I'm going to check it in. And
That'll be it for me. And proxy me in for next week for sure. I'm not going to be able to get down there and get back.
Okay, well, you know, you can check us out at oldtuberadio.net for the audio stream, and we will do that. Yeah, on his radio, everything sounded good. There wasn't any crackling or buzzing, or it didn't sound like a bad mic connection per se, but just like it was low. So yeah, maybe there was some disconnectivity going on there. Let me. The Jingle Singers are really excited tonight. We've had some good radios, and they would like to promote the magic that is the Old Tube Radio Network.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Number 7.
And the Old Tube Radio Magic. Hello 7 times 2 is Radio 14.
There we go. Another Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, this time with the banana-type microphone.
All right, Browning Laboratories, looking good here in the latter part of the Old Tube Radio Network. And let's see, let me show something different. I'm going to show, it says top cover view. Top cover view. Now, is that true? Did they put a little golden eagle bird on the top cover? Maybe that's a custom thing there. I don't know.
In fact, Bill 29er's cabinet looked exactly like that. Mine has a wood grain, no eagle.
Okay, so I wonder if that's various covers had different things, or maybe you could request it, or maybe you put a wood cover on, you would cover that up. I don't know. I'll have to pay more attention. But you know, if you were going to shell out the money for the Browning Golden Eagle in 1970, Mark III SSB AM in 1972 at as much as $750, it should have a few little fineries on there, I think.
Comment.
And we may have an answer. Comment, go ahead.
Yeah, Cliff's Mark III, which got via 2.9. That Mark III has the gold anodized cases with eagles on the top of each case, surrounded by stars. It looks similar to what's on the Golden Eagle microphones and Silver Eagle microphone heads. Kind of something like that. They had that option, I believe, because I've seen about 4 or 5 of those. So I don't think, you know, somebody made them up in his garage. I think you could get those if you paid extra.
Okay, so something that you may or may not have. So anyone out there listening, checking their Brownings, their Mark IIIs, to see what style, what mode of operation they might have been in. All right, good to know. And I know the front of his radio is also a little bit different. So they made a lot of these, even at that price point, which in today's dollars is quite a lot. You know, people wanted that ping. It was a good radio. The receiver is excellent, and we still get a lot of them checking in today, because you just don't throw those away when they go bad. You find a way to make them work. Mr. Ed, Radio 14, give us another transmission. You've got the classic banana-style microphone on the classic Mark III.
Oh, there you go. Figure we'd go all stock this time. What the heck? See what the little banana mic would do.
And it's doing good, and allows you to, if you want, and put some swing in your ping.
20.
And hello, Harvey, over.
Okay. This one was warming up. I kind of left it on through the power strip. Once I turned it on, it was on, I guess. The Robin T123B. Everybody's got one almost. but this one is fine. Range boost off, amplified D104 that I got to turn upside down, and it's turned up 1/4. That's the range boost off, and that's the range boost on. Now, this is actually with the range expand, as it says, on, not the Harvey range boost.
Okay, well, either way, it makes Harvey sound good. I think you've got everything adjusted just right, because I think any more, and you might go into flat topping. Earlier on in the net tonight, we had the Robin T123. That's the one with the magic eye. From 1972 to 1976, this was the radio, the 123B. No magic eye, but a few more lights and winky blinkies, and as we're seeing and hearing, some good audio as well. If you like green radios, do you have green? Are you green over there?
Oh yeah. Now, this one is got the light green on the front face, which most of them had. The cabinet is light green also. Some of the cabinets came with a darker green. This also has the meter that actually says Robin inside on the meter. A lot of them say SRF or S Power, PWR, something like that. This one actually says Robin. So I got lucky with this one. There are two other Robins over at Bill's place that are being sold. The front faces are okay. They're not trash. The cabinet could use repainting, but they're not trash. And no microphone, but I guess, one could be wired for it, but none basically comes with it. It's wired for Robin mic. I didn't change it, but I can if somebody would like to. Anyway, there's two of them down there that need good homes. Anyway, along with an R27S23 that I have had on the air here, works fine, but I have one already. Do not need it. So it's being sold, and the price will be reasonable regardless of the tag that's on there. More than reasonable. Anyway, all you got to do is come down and look. Or somebody on the internet type thing. You want one? Well, it's under Bill's Shop, Radio Man 1334 on eBay, and it's listed under him there, R27S23. It's got a price or best offer, so make an offer if you're out there. You'd be surprised what someone may end up paying for it. Anyway, there you go. This will be the last radio, and that'll do it. Bye.
All right, and that does it well. The Robin T123 Bravo sounding good, and as you mentioned, a couple of them still available for sale over at Red Monkey Communications. And with the range boost, as you demonstrated, you really don't have to have an amplified microphone. So even though they don't have microphones, if you've got a favorite unamplified stock microphone somewhere in your radio arsenal, it will probably, once it gets wired in, work just fine with a little range boosting from Robin. Information about this radio, the radio on which Harvey is transmitting, 1972 to 1976, a long run for these radios. This was the import from Japan. There were some other models and styles that share similar, I guess, facades, but the internals are pretty close. 12-volt DC, can go mobile if you get the right power cord, 11 tubes, a couple of transistors thrown in for good measure. There is an operator's manual, and there is a schematic for this radio in the archives at oldtuberadio.com. I'm looking for the Jingle Singers, see if they want to do one more before we start counting and amounting. And if you've got a radio warming up, we've still got room on the radio list.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Hey, just a tidbit of info. You were talking about that high-class, high-dollar Browning for $750. I did the inflation calculator on that, and that thing would wind up being $4,800 today.
Yeah, that was a couple of weeks, maybe a month paycheck back then. So I don't think $4,800 would buy you a pretty decent amateur radio these days.
Oh yeah, that'd get your high dollar. That'd get your high dollar Kenwood or your ICOM or your Yaesu. And then if you really got deep pockets, you can pick that $12,000 ICOM. But yeah, back then that was a lot of money. And if you were dumping that kind of money into a CB, that you were serious.
Yeah, the thing is, the Brownings are still going pretty decent. Let's see, the late 60s, early 70s high-dollar amateur radios at the time. I don't think you see as many of those around as you do the Brownings. Although, with the exception of the Yaesu, the FT101 series, which I think came out in the early 70s, and some of the Siltronics too. We haven't had any checking in for a couple of weeks, but they are out there as well. Speaking about out there, if you are out there and would like to get checked in, now is the time to do it. We are getting ready to sign out. The Jingle Singers, I think, have one more little ditty in them before we sign out. I'm going to be doing some counting and amounting. Thanks for that scary info there, Jerry. That is inflation for you.
Yeah, they were saying it was since then is 4.3% increase.
Yeah, and it gets worse. I've seen some of the things for some of the amateur radios that were selling in the mid-50s, that were $1,000, and ones that were really high power, and what the rate would be today, 60-something years later. So it just doesn't seem to get any better. So you might as well, if you're looking for a tube radio, might as well pick up one this week over at Radio Monkey Communications for less than inflation prices, and be done with it. OTR is standing by.
Comment?
Comment, go.
Yeah, you might want to put Red Monkey's eBay sellers information out there in case somebody in other states might want to pick up one of these radios from Bill.
Okay, and I didn't write it down. Harvey gave it out. It was Radio Man, and I didn't. I could probably go back in the archives and play it back. Does anybody have that? I know it was Radio Man something.
Yeah, we got it. Matter of fact, I just texted to Dennis. It's Radio Man 1338.
Okay, Radio Man 1338, and that is the eBay ID of the local shop here that is having a lot of these radios for sale. So you should be able to see some of them that may be listed already. So might be able to make a deal that way. But there are a lot of them. They're all working. As you can tell, our people here have gotten some from the shop, and they all do a good job. So if you're thinking about starting your collection, adding to it, that might be a good way to go, so that if you're not even in our area, you can start your own old tube radio network. All it takes, I guess, is 2 radios, and you're good to go.
Correction. We got 1334. I just double-checked it because I've been back and forth. It's 1334 Radio Man.
Okay, 1334 Radio Man, all right?
Yeah, I wanted to double check. There's another one out there I look at, and it's 1338. It's 1334 for Bill.
Okay, we haven't had any inflation on that number yet.
Okay, just so we're clear, it's Radio Man 1334?
Yeah.
Okay, Radio Man 1334 on eBay. And by the way, great show, Dennis.
Yeah, well, I just hit here and push the foot switch and try not to be too goofy, and the radios do the rest. 15 so far tonight. The Jingle Singers telling us to be modern.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
And last call for your radio check-ins.
Comment.
Comment, go over.
Or if somebody wants to call the shop, 559 area code 277-4733, 277-4733. Just ask Bill or Mark about the radios that are out there in case you can't come by. And, they'll go over them. Anyway, there we go. Thank you.
All right, because you know that real radios glow in the dark. And we've had quite a few of them tonight. We will go over the list here in just a minute.
Hey, Harvey, are you still in there?
No, I went away.
I'm going to give you a call.
I might be listening.
You might be listening? Okay.
Go ahead, call me. Call me anything you want.
And the phone might be ringing.
Except, don't call me anything you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
Well, we're going to call it the current and final OTR totals. Thanks to our Jingle Singers and the orchestra and Mr. Announcer. Somewhere over in the other studio behind all this audio rack garbage here. Let's talk about SWLs, how we did tonight. We had 11 check-ins on page 1, 16 on page 2, 12 on page 3, and 13 on page 4. For a total of 52, and that's pretty good. And I do believe we added, if you're playing the home game, SWL 113 Arlen, who is somewhere near Schofield, Wisconsin, listening in. He is a longtime SWL back in the days of the realistic DX160s, and of course has had some very classic radios himself, and is enjoying, like I do, enjoying the radios as they check in here tonight, as we all do, I guess, on the Old Tube Radio Network. Radios tonight, checking in. We made 15 coming through, and that's a good thing. The most heard manufacturer was a tie between the Browning Laboratories, and General Radio Telephone tonight, but we like to hear them all. Started out with the Courier 23 from Bill. I'm sure we will hear more from that in future episodes. Bill, thanks for bringing it by, and it sounds good. We're just going to boost the audio a little bit. Should be easy to do. Paul, SWL 45, up on the hill with the General Radio Telephones in the General Radio Telephone Vault tonight, and taking us way back to 1959 and 1960 for the their top-of-the-line Master Control series. Started with the Master Control 2 for radio number 2. Radio number 3 was Ed on the Tram TR-27E from 1963, I believe. The Cobra Cam 88, Dennis, showing us that it's easy to do some great audio without a lot of effort on your old tube radio. Just don't what is it? Keep it simple, stupid, and or keep it simple anyway. Sounding good on the Cobra as always. Thanks, Dennis, for Radio 4. Radio number 5, the Robin T123 with the blinking magic eye. We try to get, I think October is our month for magic eye radios as we get closer to Halloween and we get the kind of spooky, scary blinking eye. So stay tuned for more Magic Eye radios in the month of October here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thank you, Ed, for that. Radio number 6, Chris on the Hallicrafters CB3A, also from 1963. The Courier Royale, Radio 7 from Chris. Ed on his E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. Chris was Radio 9, also with his Gem Marine Products G PowerMate. The General Radio Telephone MC3, following up the early MC3 series, Radio 10. Thank you, Paul, for that. Chris on his General Radio Telephone Super MC11A with the great audio right out of the box. Jerry KW and the gang over there all checking in on the Golden Eagle Mark III SSB tonight. Also working with the Heil PR40 microphone. Doing a good job with that. Harvey on the west side on the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68 for Lucky Radio 13. Mr. Ed on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB with the banana style microphone, and Radio 15 tonight, the Robin T123. There are a few still available if you'd like. The information, if you were listening and you remembered, there was some phone numbers and things, we archive this program. You can find it at oldtuberadio.net. The top of the page, there's an archive button. I will make sure that they are up here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Look for today's date, the 7th of October, and you're going to look for the Tube radio check-ins and then scroll near the end of the program where we had the phone numbers and things. Or if you'd like, just listen to it all again and take in the great radios. Also, we'll keep the video up for a while as well. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping our Nixie tubes and all the digital stuff that makes the oldtuberadio.net and .com run. Also, Rob SWL3 for keeping that up. And thanks to you for listening and checking in your radios. And that's why we have been doing this for 33 years, because there is somebody out there to do it with. Thanks, everybody. Let's see, make sure there's any comments that I have to talk about at oldtuberadio.net or on the YouTube video feed. We had a lot of people watching and listening in tonight. Crazy Bob, who... I'm trying to think, what time is it there? He has, speaking about all things old and good, Crazy Bob is a DJ that does a vintage old-time radio show. I don't want to say too much, Bob, because I'll get it wrong, but if you were listening to the tunes he played, you were probably in your Fins and Chrome automobile, maybe with your old tube radio. So thanks for listening in, Bob. He also runs a Facebook page for some vintage and some CB radios as well. Thanks to all of you. We will catch you next time on your Old Tube Radio Network 73.
Good night. Good night.
And let's see, if I hit this button, the video will go away. We'll catch you next time. 73, everybody.